So hello and welcome to another video on my GMAT preparation. Currently I am going through the critical reasoning section and I am currently at the difficulty level of medium. So today was to say about today. Today there was a World Cup match between India and South Africa. Both the teams played well, but unfortunately India lost in the end. India could not capitalize their upper hand that they gained in the in the initial overs of the second innings, and ultimately some dropped catches and missed run out, and just India lost a match. So just giving a little description of how went today about India, and now further focusing on my preparation. I have to complete today 10 critical reasoning questions, and after that I will move on to some other sections. I will leave apart the hard section of the critical reasoning. I will do it later. Now after this medium section I will go to practice the the reading comprehension or some other stuff in the following days. Okay, so let me start reading the passage. Let me switch on the timer. Okay. In Finland, many workers have been complaining that they cannot survive on minimum wage, the lowest wage an employer is permitted to pay. The government is proposing to raise the minimum wage. Many employers who pay their workers the current minimum wage argue that if it is raised, unemployment will increase because they will no longer be able to afford to employ as many workers. Which one of the following, if true, in Finland most strongly supports the claim that raising the minimum wage there will not have the effects that the employers predict? So the employers predicted that there will be unemployment, but which one of the following would support the claim that raising minimum wage will not affect unemployment? Okay, so options: for any position with wages below a living wage, the difficulty of finding and retaining employees adds as much to employment cost as would raising wages. Okay, this can be, but not strong. Raising the minimum wage does not also increase the amount of employers have to contribute in employee benefits. So employee benefits, this is off topic, so we are getting out of context for now. When inflation is taken into account, the proposed new minimum wage is not as high as the current one as when it was introduced. Okay, this can be. Many employees currently being paid wages at the level of proposed new minimum wage will demand significant wage increase. Many employees currently being paid wages at the level of the proposed new minimum wage will demand significant wage increase. So this is actually weakening the statement. Many employers who pay some workers only the minimum wage also pay other worker wages such as wages that are much higher than the minimum. Okay, I am keeping this in. Now let me revisit. For any position with wages below a living wage, the difficulty of finding and retaining employees adds as much to employment cost as would raising wages. Okay. So if recruiting new employees would cost as much as raising the wages, so this actually weakens the statement, I think, because if they are raising the wages and they have to recruit and it costs the same, so the total cost increases, which actually weakens the statement. Number C, when inflation is taken into account, the proposed new minimum wage is not as high as the current one when it was introduced. The current one when it was introduced. Many employers who pay some workers only the minimum wage also pay other workers wages that are much higher. So this tells about other workers, so I am opting it out. Okay, it does not also increase. See, the question asks that it will not have the effects that the employers predict. Employers predicted what? That unemployment will increase as they will no longer be able to afford many workers. The difficulty of finding and retaining employees adds as much to employment cost as would raising wages. I'm totally confused between A and C. When inflation is taken into account, the proposed new minimum wage is not as high as the current one as when it was introduced. Okay, let me go with C, but I'm not sure. Many employees currently being paid. So they are saying, the employers are saying that if there is, they can sack off few employees, which will lead to unemployment. So which one will of this not affect unemployment? For any reason with wages below living wage, the difficulty of finding and retaining employees adds as much to employment cost as raising wages. I think this is a weak statement. I think this is a weak statement. So it's left with C. Raising the minimum wage does not also increase the amount employers have to contribute in employee benefits. I think I will go with C. Okay, yeah, I'm going with C. Okay, what happened? Just let me delete this. Yeah. So it's around 6. I will say 50, and I'm going with C. Okay, let's move on to 752. Biologists with a predilection for theory have tried and largely failed to define what is that makes something a living thing. Organism takes in energy providing materials and excrete waste, but so do automobiles. Living things replicate and take part in evolution, but so do some computer programs. We must be open to the possibility that there are living things on other planets. Therefore, we will not be successful in defining what is that makes something a living thing merely by examining living things on Earth, the only ones we know. Trying to do so is analogous to trying to specify, okay, which one of the following logically completes the passage. Trying to do so is analogous to trying to specify the laws of physics by using pure mathematics. What a fish is by listing its chemical components. What an animal is by examining plant. What a machine is by examining the sketch of it. What a mammal is by examining the zebra. We must be open to possibility that there are living things to other planets. Therefore, we will not be successful in defining what is that makes something a living thing merely by examining living things on earth. This is the main, the part that actually will help to answer the question. The only ones we know. Trying to do this is analogous to trying to specify what a mammal is. I think this is the strongest. I am quite satisfied with it because the statement they have said that examining the living things, we are defining what is a living thing. Sorry, the examining living things on earth, we are defining what is a living thing. So we are actually reducing our scope. We are actually reducing the whole the whole horizon of living things that may also be included, that are also present in other planets. So what is a mammal? By examining the zebra, we are also limiting our space. So I think this should be correct. But if we see other options, what a machine is, by examining the sketch of it. So machine and sketch, two different things. So I don't think it will be the answer. What an animal is, by examining the plant. So an animal and plant is different. So it doesn't actually reflect what has been said in the passage. What a fish is, by listing its chemical components. Nowhere it is. Okay, so nowhere it has said about chemical components or other thing. The laws of physics by using pure mathematics. No, I don't think it is also not the correct answer. So moving on to 753. Okay. For a period from the 8th century through the 11th century, the shifting boundaries between Kingdom F and Kingdom G have not been well charted. Although a certain village, a border region between the two kingdoms, usually belonged to Kingdom G, 9th century artifacts found in the village were in the typical Kingdom F style of that time. It is unclear whether the village was actually a part of Kingdom F in the 9th century or whether it was a part of Kingdom G, but had merely adopted Kingdom F's artistic styles under Kingdom F's cultural influence. Which one of the following would, if found in 9th century sites in the village, best help in determining whether the village was a part of Kingdom F or Kingdom G in the 9th century? So they are a little bit confused which kingdom this village belongs to, because there was not proper demarcation made about the boundaries of the kingdoms. Although certain village in a border region between the two kingdoms usually belong to the G in the 9th century, artifacts found in the village were in a typical of F style. Although certain village in a border region between the two kingdoms usually belong to Kingdom G. So they are assuming usually belongs to Kingdom G, but the artifacts is of Kingdom F style. It is unclear whether the village was actually a part of Kingdom F in 9th century or whether it was a part of Kingdom G but had nearly adopted the Kingdom F's artistic style. Okay, so let's see the answers. A trading contract written in the Kingdom of G dialect. A trading contract written in Kingdom G dialect. But this is the same thing as getting the artifacts, which must be the influence of Kingdom F. So I am eliminating this. A drawing of a dwelling complex known to have existed on the border of Kingdom F and Kingdom G in the 9th century. A drawing of a dwelling complex, known to have existed on the border of Kingdom F and Kingdom G in the 9th century. But it is not saying whether it is in Kingdom G or Kingdom F. So the confusion remains. Knives and other utensils made from metal typical of 9th century mining sites in Kingdom F. Yeah, this can be this can be a possible answer. Some fragments of pottery made in the Kingdom G style from the 7th century out of materials only found in Kingdom F. Okay, this is minor, but I'm still keeping it open. Numerous teeth from the 9th century with a chemical signature typical only of teeth from people who had grown up in the heart of Kingdom F. Okay, so these three are the strongest contenders. Knives and other utensils made from metal typical of 9th century mining sites in Kingdom F. Knives and other utensils made from metal typical of 9th century mining sites in Kingdom F. But it is not clear whether they traded this thing. See option E, numerous teeth from the 9th century with a chemical signature typical only of teeth of numerous of people who had grown up in the heart of Kingdom F. But people can get, they can move, they can get to the other kingdom. I think this is also not the answer because it has dual property. Knives and other utensils made from metal typical of 9th century mining sites in Kingdom F. See, it has said whether it was a part of Kingdom G but had merely adopted Kingdom F's artistic styles under Kingdom F's cultural influence. So which one of this can be a cultural influence? A dialect can be a cultural influence, so it is correctly wrong. A drawing of a dwelling complex known to have existed on the border of Kingdom F or Kingdom G in the 9th century. Knives and other utensils made from the metal typical in 9th century mining sites in Kingdom F. I think I should go with E. Reason being, say it has said typical only of the teeth from people who grown in the heart of Kingdom F. So those who are living in the heart of Kingdom F, that thing matches with the bordering village, so it ought to be of Kingdom F. Okay, now moving to next. Sammy, for my arthritis, I am going to try my aunt's diet, large amount of wheat germ and garlic. She was able to move more easily right after she started the diet. Pat saying, when my brother began that diet, his arthritis got worse, but he has been doing much better since he stopped eating vegetables in the nightshade family, such as tomatoes and peppers. Which one of the following, if true, would provide a basis for explaining the fact that Sammy's aunt and Pat's brother had contrasting experiences with the same diet? Which one of the following, if true, would provide a basis for explaining that the fact Sammy's aunt and Pat's brother had contrasting experience in the same diet? A change in diet, regardless of the nature of change, frequently brings temporary relief from arthritis symptom. Okay, this can be. The compounds in garlic that can lessen the symptoms of arthritis are also present in tomatoes and peppers. Okay, keeping it open. Arthritis is a chronic condition whose symptoms improve and worsen from time to time without regard to diet. Yeah, this can be also. In general, men are more likely to have their arthritis symptoms alleviated by avoiding vegetables in the nightshade than are women. Okay, this is also quite possible. People who are closely related are more likely to experience the same result adopting a particular than people who are unrelated. So this is off topic. Okay, so 4 of these are open. So I don't think this will be the answer because the compound in garlic is also present in tomato and sauce, but it does not explain why the arthritis got worse. So this is out. Arthritis is a chronic condition whose symptoms improve and worsen from time to time without regard to diet. In general, men are more likely to have their arthritis symptoms alleviated by avoiding vegetables in nightshade family than are women. But they have not said whether the nightshade family vegetables were eaten by Sammy's aunt. So this is also out of context. It's out of the answer. Arthritis is a chronic condition whose symptoms improve and worsen from time to time without regard to diet. A change in diet, regardless the nature of the change, frequently brings temporary relief from arthritis symptom. When my brother began the diet, his arthritis got worse, but he has been doing much better since he stopped eating vegetables. Okay. Arthritis is a chronic condition whose symptoms improve and worsen from time to time without regard to diet. Without regard to diet. So is these two cases are a coincidence because they have said that it happens without regard to diet? Okay, let me pause a little bit. Okay, so let us get back to the action. It is said that when my brother began the diet, his arthritis got worse. But see, here it is said that any change in diet, regardless of the nature, frequently brings temporary change for arthritis. But for this, the change didn't bring any relief. So I am eliminating this. My option is C. I think it's quite right. Moving on to the next question. In the 1960s, surveys of Florida alligator population indicated that the population was dwindling rapidly. Hunting alligator was banned by the early 1990s. The alligator population had recovered. The restricted hunting was allowed. Over the course of 1990s, reports of alligator appearing on golf courses and lawns increased dramatically. Therefore, in spite of whatever alligator hunting went on, the alligator population must have increased significantly over the decade of the 1990s. Okay. Which one of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? The human population of Florida increased significantly during 1990s. This is unrelated. The hunting restriction applied to commercial as well as private hunters. Unrelated. The number of sightings of alligators in lakes and swamps increased greatly in Florida during the 1990s. Number of sightings of alligator in lakes and swamps increased greatly in Florida during 1990s. It is a state of Florida. Okay, the number of sightings. So this is actually strengthening. Throughout the 1990s, selling alligator products were more strictly regulated than hunting was. Okay, this is out of context. Most of the sightings of alligator on golf courses and lawns in the 19th century occurred at times at which few people were present on golf course and lawns. Yeah, this is the most strongest one. Reason being, why it weakens the statement. Now let us see which one doesn't weaken. No. The population of Florida increased. Human population of Florida increased significantly during 1990. So it is said of human population, not of alligators. So I have eliminated. Hunting restriction applied to commercial as well as private hunters. So if the restriction were applied, that means the population will increase. And the argument it says that therefore, in spite of whatever alligator hunting went on, the alligator population must have increased significantly. So this is actually not saying anything whether it increased or decreased, or rather I say, since the hunting restriction were there it may have helped to increase the population. So this is actually strengthening. So it is out. The number of sightings of alligators in lake swamps increased greatly in Florida. This is trending, therefore it is out. Throughout the 1990s, selling alligator products was more strictly regulated than hunting was. So this is out of context. So what remains? E, which clearly weakens because it says most of the sightings of alligators on golf courses and lawns in 1990s occurred at times at which few people were present on golf courses and lawns. So if few people were present, that means the credibility of the information may be less, therefore I think it weakens. Okay, 756. Infotech, a computer manufacturer in Catrovia, has just introduced a new personal computer model that sells more significantly less than any other model. Okay, a new personal computer model that sells for significantly less than any other computer. That sells for significance. Okay. Market research shows, however, that very few Cathrovian households without personal computer would buy a computer regardless of its price. Therefore, introducing a new model is unlikely to increase the number of computers in Cathrovian homes. Okay. Market research shows, however, that very few Cathrovian households without personal computers would buy a computer regardless of its price, because that means they are unaffected by the change in price. Therefore, introducing the new model is unlikely to increase the number of computers in Cathrovian homes. What it has said actually, a model that sells for significantly less. That means the price is less. Which one of the following is an assumption on which the argument is depends? Argument is introducing new model is unlikely to increase the number of computers in homes. Infotech achieved a lower price of the new model by using components of lower quality than those used by other manufacturers. So we are not concerned how he lowered the price. The main reason cited by consumers in Catrovia for replacing a personal computer is the desire to have an improved model. This is actually weakening, not giving any assumption. Main reason cited by consumers in Catrovia for replacing a personal computer is the desire to have an improved model. Therefore, introduction of a new model is unlikely to increase. Okay. Catrovians in household that already have computers are unlikely to purchase the new Infotech model as an additional computer for home use. Okay. The price of other personal computers in Catrovia is unlikely to drop below the price of Infotech's new model in the near future. Most personal computers purchased in Catrovia are intended for home use. Okay. I think this is a weak statement to be the right answer. The price of other personal computers in Catrovia is unlikely to drop below the price of Infotech's new model in the near future. I don't think this should be an assumption made. Contributors in households that already have computers are unlikely to purchase the new inputting model as an addition. Yeah, this can be an assumption. This is clearly an assumption, so I am going with C. 757. Fast food restaurants make 45% of all restaurants in Cantaria. Customers at these restaurants tend to be young. In fact, studies have shown that the older the people get, the less likely they are to eat in fast food restaurant. Since the average age of Canadian population is gradually rising and will continue to do so, the number of fast food restaurants is likely to decrease. Each one of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument. Fast food restaurants in country are getting bigger, so each one can serve more customers. This can weaken, yeah. Some older people eat at fast food restaurant more frequently than the average young person. This can be also many people who rarely eat in fast food restaurant nevertheless eat regularly in restaurants. This is actually out of context. The overall population in Canatria is growing steadily. Out of context, as the population of Canatria gets older, more people are eating at home. This is not weakening, this is actually strengthening. So between A and B, which one of the following is more serious? If true, most seriously weakens the argument. Since the average age of Canatrian population is gradually rising and will continue to do so, the number of fast food restaurants is likely to decrease. Fast food restaurants in Cantaria are getting bigger, so each one can serve more customers. Some older people eat at fast food restaurants more frequently than the average young person. So it says some. So when this is some, it doesn't mean for the whole set of older people. But the question has asked specifically about the old people. Here it is said the number of fast food restaurants, and here fast food restaurants in country are getting bigger. So bigger doesn't mean the number is increasing. So I don't think this will be the answer. I will go with B. Moving on to 758. Last year, a chain of fast food restaurants whose menu had always centered on hamburgers added its first vegetarian sandwich, much lower in fat than the chain's other offerings. Despite heavy marketing, the new sandwich accounts for a very small portion of the chain's sale. The sandwich sale would have to quadruple to cover the cost associated with including it on the menu. Since such an increase is unlikely, the chain would be more profitable if it dropped the sandwich. Which one of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? The argument is, since such an increase is unlikely, the chain would be more profitable if it dropped the sandwich from the menu, of course, not on the floor. Hamburgers, if this way, the sandwich. Okay. Although many of the chain's customers have never tried a vegetarian sandwich, in a market research survey, most of those who had tried it reported that they were very, very satisfied with it. Yeah, this is its weakening. But this is the most serious. Many of the people who eat at the chain's restaurants also eat at the restaurants of competing chains and report no strong preference among the competitors. Now this is not concerned with sandwich. Among fast food chains in general, okay, there has been little or no growth in hamburger sales over the past several years as the range of competing offerings at other restaurants has grown. This is also not said anything about the sandwich. When even one member of a group of diners is a vegetarian, or has a preference for low-fat food, the group tends to avoid restaurants that lack vegetarian or low-fat food option. Yeah, this can also weaken the statement that dropping the sandwich is a better choice. An attempt by the chain to introduce a lower-fat hamburger failed several years ago since it attracted few new customers, and most of the chain's regular customers greatly prefer the taste of regular hamburgers. This is not related to the sandwich case. So the options are A. Although many of the chain's customers have never tried a vegetarian sandwich, in the market research survey, most of those who had tried it reported that they were very satisfied. I think this is a stronger one. I will go with it. Because C, D says whenever one member of a group diners is a vegetarian or has preference for low-fat food, the group tends to avoid restaurants that lack vegetarian or low-fat food menu option. So this is a very specific case. Okay, we want a general one which actually helps us to oppose the statement that no, dropping the sandwich from the menu is a wrong choice. Now moving on to the second last question for today. 759. Transportation expenses account for a large portion of total dollar amount spent on trips for pleasure by residents of United States in 1997, and about half of the total dollar amount spent on transportation for airfare. Okay, let me read once again. Transportation expenses accounted for large portion of the total amount spent on trips. Transportation expenses were okay, and about half of the total dollar amount spent on transportation was for airfare. Okay. However, the large majority of United States residents who took trips for pleasure in 1997 did not travel by airplane but used other means of transportation. If the statement above are true, which one of the following must be true about United States residents who took trips for pleasure in 1997? Most of those who traveled by airplane did so because the airfare to their destination was lower than the cost available for other means of transportation. If the statement above are true, which one of the following must also be true about United States residents who took trips for pleasure in 1997? Okay, the statement that is actually creating the problem here is about half of the total dollar amount spent on transportation was from airfare. Okay. This is actually keeps us open. Most of those who travel by airplane did so because other means of transportation to their destinations were unavailable. Okay, this can also be. Per mile travel, those who travel by airplane tended to spend more on transportation to their destination than did those who use other means of transportation. Yeah, this is also a stronger one. Overall, people who did not travel by airplane had fewer average transportation expenses than people who did. Okay. Those who travel by airplanes paid about as much on average on other means of transportation as they did on airfare. So this is actually saying that they paid equal. So, but it is not equal. I don't think this is the answer, because if the airfare is lower than other means, so traveling by airfare would not mean that it have a significant portion of the share of the portion of the money spent on transportation. Number B, most of those who travel by airplane did so because other means of transportation to their destination were unavailable. This can be, but it is little off topic. Okay, let me see. Option C, per mile travel, those who travel by airplane tended to spend more on transportation to their destination than did those who use other means of transportation. Overall, people who did not travel by airplane had lower average transportation expenses than people who did. Oh my god. This is a bit tough, I think. I can't get a hang of it. Say the transportation expenses accounted a large portion of the total dollar amount spent on trips for pleasure by residents of United States, and about half of the total dollar spent on transportation was for airfare. So half airfare, half other. So we have to. But it is also said that large majority of United States who took trips for pleasure in 1987 did not travel by airplane. But the people who traveled by airplane was very less. Okay, this is by airplane, this is by other. So how both these statements actually make sense? Most of those who travel by airplane did so the airfare of the destination was lower. So certainly this is not, because if it is lower, this can't have half of the coverage. Most of those who travel by airplane did so because other means of transportation are not available. So this is also out of context. Why did they travel or not travel is not our agenda. Per mile travel, those who travel by airplane tended to spend more on transportation to their destination than did so who use other means of transport. So overall, how much they spend on airplane is not clear here. Overall, people who did not travel by airplane had lower average transportation expense than people who did. I think this should be the correct answer. It actually justifies these two graphs. Okay, moving on to the last question for today. Voters commonly condemn politicians for being insincere, but politicians often must disguise their true feelings when they make public statements. If they express their honest views about, say, their party's policies, then achieving politically necessary compromises would be much more difficult. Clearly, the very insincerity that people decry shows that our government is functioning well. Clearly, the very insincerity that people decry shows that our government is functioning well. Okay, let me read once again. Voters commonly condemn politicians for being insincere. Okay, for being insincere. But politicians often must disguise their true feelings when they make public statements. If they express their honest views about, say, their party's policies, then achieving politically necessary compromises would be much more difficult. Clearly, the very insincerity that people decry shows that our government is functioning well. Okay, which one out of following, if true, most seriously undermines this reasoning? What is the reasoning? That if they express their honest views about, say, their party, then achieving politically necessary compromises would be much more difficult. Okay. Achieving political compromises is not all that is necessary for proper functioning of a government. Okay, this can be keeping it open. Some political compromises are not in the best long-term interest of the government. This is out of context. We are not concerned about long-term interest. Voters often judge politicians by criteria other than the sincerity with which they express their views. This can be a political party's policies could turn out to be detrimental to the functioning of a government. Unconcerned, some of the public statements made by politicians about their party's policies could in fact be sincere. Undermines the reasoning. See, this is quite undermines the reasoning, but the word some of the public statements made by politicians about their party's policies could in fact be insincere. Okay. Voters often judge politicians by criteria other than the sincerity with which they express their views. Achieving political compromises is not all that is necessary for proper functioning of a government. This is actually not undermining, because it says is not all that is necessary, but it is necessary, maybe. Correct. It is not all that is necessary, but it doesn't say that it is not necessary. So it is necessary. So I don't think this is the option we must choose. We are left with C and E. Voters often judge politicians by criteria other than the sincerity with which they express their views. I think this would be the correct answer. Some of the public statements made by politicians about their party's policies could be in fact sincere. I will go with C. I think this is more, it is more inclined to the question asked. Okay, so let me just see how did I do just let me write the answers. 751, 752, 753, 754, 755, 756, 757, 758, 59, 760. Okay. My options are C, then D, then A, then B. C, D, A, B. C, what I am doing? C, D, A, B. Now I have to see 756. 756 is C, again E, C, E, C, E, C, E, C, E, C, E, C, E, and 751 and 752. 752 is E and C. E and C. Now just let me see the answers. How did I fare? Did I fare well, or did I make multiple wrong answers? So I have to see 751, 750, okay, 751 to 760. I think I have made lot of wrong answers. A, E, E, C. A, E, E, C. A, E, E, C. So this one is incorrect. A, C, triple D. A, C, triple D. This one is wrong. This one is wrong. This one is wrong. And last one, C. Last one A. Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 50, 50. This is the worst that I have performed till now. Oh man. This is really disgusting. 751. Let me check it once again. A double E C A double E C A C triple D A C triple D A. Okay. So let's see the explanation. 751. I don't know why my performance dropped today. Was my reasoning wasn't up to the mark, or I was searching for different thing? Then what should I search? 751. Okay, complaining about. So what did I choose? I chose C. The correct answer is A. A is for any position with wages below a living wage, the difficulty of finding and retaining employees adds as much to employment costs as it would raising the wages. Let's see the reasoning. This suggests that raising the minimum wage would make it easier for employers to find and retain minimum wage employees, and that the savings would fully offset the cost of paying the higher wages. If there were such offsetting savings, the employers would still be able to afford to employ as many workers as they currently do. I did not understand what they are saying. This suggests that raising the minimum wage would make it easier for employers to find and retain minimum wage employees. Why? And the savings would fully offset the cost of paying the higher wages. If there were such offsetting savings, the employers would still be able to afford to employ as many workers as. I did not understand anything, but this is the reasoning they have given. The reasoning is, what evidence would most strongly suggest that raising the minimum wage will not increase unemployment? The employers with minimum wage workers implicitly reason that because raising the minimum wage will increase the wages they have to pay to each worker, it will reduce the number of workers they can afford to employ, and thus will increase the unemployment. Evidence that the increased wage would not actually increase the employer's expenses per employee would cast doubt on their prediction, as would evidence that reducing the number of minimum wage workers would not increase the nation's overall unemployment rate. Okay, down now. I am not in touch today. Good touch. 755. In 1960, Florida's alligator. Oh, I did wrong. This one. Which one of the following, if true, most severely weakens the argument? The argument was the population has increased. The correct answer is A. I don't think so. The human population of Florida increased significantly during the 1990s. So this is totally out of context. Why should this be the right answer? The argument suggests that Florida is an area in which golf courses and lawns are common. A large rapid increase in human population of such an area would probably lead to significant increase in the number of golf courses and lawns, some of which would encroach on alligators' habitats. even without any increase in the overall number of alligators. This could lead to an increase in both the percentage of alligators that venture to golf courses and lawns and other number of people who. This is, I don't think this is the correct answer. It's totally, I believe this should not be the reasoning. That encroaching the place, I don't know. How is it correct answer? I have to check on GMAT. GMAT club, okay. Then 757, 758. See, totally I disagree with the reasoning they have given. The reasoning is that, see, such a critical reasoning question. It is critical for some sense, yeah, I can understand, but this is not a critical reasoning. This is out of the box thinking and out of the topic also. But still, okay, 757 and 758. 757. D is the correct answer. I chose B. Fast food restaurants, okay. I chose B. B is some older people eat in fast food restaurants more frequently than the average young person. Correct answer is D. Oh, the overall population of country is growing steadily. This suggests that even if the proportion of countries eating a fast food restaurant declines, the total number doing so may not decline. Thus, the total demand for the profitability of fast food restaurant may not decline either. So the number of fast food restaurants in Karnataka may not decrease. This suggests that even if the proportion of Canadian eating at fast food restaurant declines, the total number doing so may not decline. Okay, let me move on to 758. Last year, fast food restaurants menu had always centered on hamburgers. Okay, I gave the answer A and the correct answer is D. A is although the many of the chain's customers have never tried vegetarian sandwich, in a market research, yeah, this I think strength weakens the argument. D. This suggests D is whenever one member of a group of vegetarians has preference for low-fat food, the group tends to avoid restaurants that lack the vegetarian or low-fat food options. So let me see what answer they are raising they have given for A. This gives information only about the respondents to the survey who had tried the sandwich, who were probably already more open to liking the vegetarian sandwich than any of the chain's other customers. So their responses are probably unrepresentative of the chain's customers in general and do not suggest that the sandwich has enough market potential. Okay. This suggests that even if the sandwich sales are low, it may indirectly increase the chain's overall profit by encouraging large groups to eat at the chain. Okay, this seems pretty straightforward, but okay, let's accept 760A and I have given C. Achieving political compromises is not all that is necessary for proper functioning of a government. Let's see the reasoning. If the governments may function poorly even when insincerity allows necessary political compromises to be made, then the government's argument premises do not establish that politicians' sincerity shows our government is functioning well. See the reasoning. Even if voters often judge politicians by criteria other than their sincerity, they may also often decry politicians' insincerity, not realizing or caring that such insincerity helps the government function well. I don't know. Okay, just leave it. Okay, today India has also lost, and I have also lost my reasoning skills. That's all for today. Good night. Have a wonderful preparation day ahead.